How is everybody doing today? My name is Master Zero, and welcome back to another reaction video. This time we're reacting to The King and the Golem by Rational Animations. Alright, so I'm super excited to dive back into Rational Animation stuff, and another story I might add, which is kind of in the same vein of the goddess of everything else, which is very, very cool, man. I really love that, like, just what Rational Animations does, like, pretty much on a constant manner, you know? Like, as far as all the videos I've seen, like, just the, like, narration, man. Like, he somehow, like, grips me every single time, and it's, like, very interesting stories, too, I might add. Like, the other one was talking about AI, even though I had no idea it was until when I edited it, you know, and somebody commented, and I'm like, oh yeah, all the puzzle pieces were there. Like, I just was too stupid or naive, I guess, to think that it was actually talking about AI instead of aliens. But like, onto this, like, this is another one talking about AI, because I did have to read the description this time because I didn't want to look like a fool. But like, it should be very interesting still, because it's like the King and the Golem, like, you wouldn't have any idea that it was talking about AI, you know, except I kind of spoiled it myself. But it should be very, very interesting regardless, like how that coexist with talking about AI, so should be amazing. So without any further ado, here's The King and the Golem.
The King and the
starts
Golem,
off kind of like the
a
same
fable of
thing
automation and trust.
As the goddess of
Written by
everything.
Richard No. Long ago, there was a mighty king who had everything in the world that he wanted.
It seems like they have different art styles every time.
Who could he trust?
Yeah, that's important.
When anyone around him might scheme.
I would
for
hate
his
to be a
throne.
king or just
So he
anyone in
resolved to
charge.
study the nature of trust.
People do be
that
trying
he
to kill
might
you.
Figure out how to gain it. He asked his subjects to bring him the most trustworthy thing in the kingdom, promising great riches if they succeeded.
What would that
Soon,
be,
the
though?
first of them arrived at his palace to try.
Guess we'll find out.
A teacher brought her book of lessons.
Hey.
We cannot know the future, but we know mathematics,
Oh, incredible
chemistry,
voice acting
and
already.
history. Those
All
we can
important
trust.
things. That's
A farmer
fair.
brought
Those are
his plow.
constant.
I know it like the back of my hand. How it rolls and how it turns and every detail of it. Enough that
Fair,
can
I
trust it
guess.
fully.
An inanimate,
The king asked his
inanimate
wisest
object.
scholars if the teacher spoke true. But as they read her book, each pointed out new errors.
I don't like y'all
It was
guys.
only written by humans, after all. Then the
That's
king
the
told
problem I have
farmer
with the
to plow
Bible. It's like,
fields near the
technically,
palace,
at the end of the day,
but
it's
he was not
made
used
by
to plowing
humans.
fields as rich as these, and his trusty plow would often sink too far into the soil. So the king was
Not
not
trustworthy
satisfied
enough.
and sent his message even further afield.
Oh.
A merchant brought a sick old beggar.
Oh.
I met him on the road here and offered him food, water, and shelter.
Hey.
He has no
Really nice
family and
guy.
only a short time left to live,
Oh.
during which I will provide for his every need. He has
Okay.
nothing to gain
Why
from
the coffin, though?
betraying me. This is what allows true trust.
Ah,
mother
that's
brought
kind
her
of
young
sinister, man.
I've raised her to lack any evil in her heart, to say only good words, do only good deeds. As long as she is not corrupted,
If you're too hard
she
on a
will
child,
remain
she
the
will
most
rebel.
trustworthy in the kingdom.
Again,
The
I don't
king
trust it.
asked the beggar.
How did you end up in such dire straits?
The
Very
beggar
good
let out a sigh and recounted his
question.
sorrows. The neighbors who refused to help him when his crops failed. The
Oh.
murder of his son by bandits.
Jesus!
As they traveled to a new town. The sickness
Why?
that took his wife as she labored for a pittance.
Oh, I feel so
in
bad for
squalid
him now.
conditions.
I mean,
So
I already
you have been
did, but
wronged. Very surely.
very.
I will give you revenge on the ones who have wronged you then. All I ask is for you to denounce this merchant.
The beggar's
Oh.
decision did not take long, for the trust that came easily was broken easily.
Well, you just
too.
proved him wrong.
To the
Or
mother,
proved the king right.
asked,
How did you raise such a child? Has she never once strayed?
Well, once or
Important
twice.
questions.
But I discipline her firmly. and she
That's
learns
where the
fast.
rebellion comes
The
from.
king, who knew something of children, ruled that for a month nobody would discipline the child in any way. By
Hey.
the end of it, she was as wild and
I was about to
tempestuous
say.
as any in the palace. So the king remained
Jesus
unsatisfied
Christ,
and
man.
renewed his call for the most trustworthy thing in the kingdom. Now his subjects
Oh.
became more creative. An economist brought him a
Oh.
book of statistical tables.
Any
Numbers don't
individual
lie.
might vary and
Unless they do.
change, but in aggregate, their behavior follows laws which can be trusted.
A philosopher brought
So
a
what's the
mirror.
trusting part? The law?
By your own standards, only you are truly trustworthy, sire. Nothing else can compare.
The king
trying to
scrutinized the
butter him up.
economist's tables.
You me?
The trend
You might think me
changed
as a
here
role.
15 years ago. Why?
The economist launched into a long, complicated explanation.
Dude, that king's
And did
spitting
you
like
discover
amazing
this
questions.
explanation before or after it happened?
Oh.
After. Your Highness. If you
To the
tell
dungeon
me
with you.
when the next such change will happen, I will bestow upon you great rewards if you're right.
Oh.
But great penalties if you are wrong.
Dude, these tests are like
What
so...
say you?
I'm gonna say
The
manipulative,
economist
lack of a
consulted
better
his
word.
books and tables, but could not find what he sought there,
Uh-oh.
and left
How are you
court
holding
that
that, by the
same
way?
night. As for the philosopher, the king
He's
ordered
just-
him whipped. The philosopher protested.
Why?
It would be an unjust and capricious punishment,
Oh my
and would
God.
undermine his subjects' loyalty.
I agree that your arguments have merit. But the original order came from the only trustworthy person in the land. Surely I should never doubt my judgment based on arguments from those who are, as you have yourself said, far less trustworthy?
At that, the
Oh,
philosopher
I'm
begged
kind of
to
liking
recant.
this king, man.
So the
He
king was
actually
still not
just wants the
satisfied.
most trustworthy thing.
Finally, he decided that if no truly trustworthy thing could be found, he would have to build one.
Oh.
He asked his best craftsman to construct a golem of
Oh,
the
what's that?
sturdiest materials, sparing no expense.
That armor from Thor,
He
is it
asked
the
his
Destroyer,
wisest
I think?
scholars to write down all their knowledge
Definitely
on
giving
a
off the
scroll
same
that would
vibe, man.
animate the golem.
Oh.
The work took many years, such was the care they took. But eventually,
I
the
mean,
golem
do it
stood
right,
before
right?
him,
Oh my.
larger than any man. Its
Oh, I
polished
love the
surface
audio,
shining in
man.
the
I was
lamplight.
gonna state that before,
Its
but
face
not with the
black.
whipping part.
What can you do for me, Golem? Many things, sire.
Oh, I love you.
I can chop trees and carry
Sound like a
water.
transformer.
I can bake bread
Um,
and brew beer.
Okay.
I can craft sculptures
Where's all that
and
coming from, by
teach
the way?
children.
Hey, there's the
You
child.
instruct me, and I will follow your command.
So the king
Seems
did.
okay so
Over the
far.
next year, he and many
Just
others
write
watched
notes.
it carefully as it carried out a multitude of their instructions.
Is this where the
recording
AI
every
comes from?
mistake so that it might subsequently be fixed, until months passed without any mistakes being detected.
Or maybe it's
But
just
could
really
the king
good at...
trust the golem? He
was about
still
to
wasn't
say.
sure, and so he became more creative. He offered the golem temptations, freedom,
How do you
fame,
tempt a robot?
fortune.
But
But
do you
it
tempt
rejected
AI?
them all. He gave
Until
it
they
the
gain
run
their
of his
own
palace
sentient.
and promised
Hey,
that it
I was
could
wondering
act
where the dog
however
was
it
gonna come
wished.
in.
Still, the servants
Took a little
reported
Easter
that
egg
its
every video.
behavior was entirely upstanding. Finally, he sent it out across the city to work for his citizens in every
Yo,
kind of
he
role.
could just be like secretly
It was so
betraying you,
tireless
though.
and diligent
His own
that it
agenda.
brought great wealth to the
I don't
king.
trust AI.
As it aged,
Oh.
his golem grew ever more powerful.
You turned into an iron golem,
Innumerable
buddy?
scribes labored to make the writing in its head smaller and smaller,
My
so that they could fit in
God.
more and more knowledge and experience. It started to talk to his scholars and help them with their work. And the king started to send it to aid his
text me.
officers in enforcing his laws and commands. Often, when difficulties arose, the golem would find a creative way to ensure that the king's intentions were followed, without stoking the resentment that often accompanied royal decrees.
Huh.
One day, as the king
Oh,
heard
king's
a
getting a
report
little
of
old.
yet another problem that the golem had solved on his behalf, he realized that the golem had grown wiser and more capable than he himself. He summoned the
Okay,
golem
definitely
to appear before him
parallels
as
with
he sat
AI.
in his garden.
I've seen my courtiers asking for your advice and trusting your judgment over their own. And I have seen your skill at games of strategy. If you were to start weaving plots against me, I could no longer notice or stop you.
That's what I'm saying,
So
man.
I ask, can I trust you enough to let you remain the right hand of the crown? Of course, sire. I was designed,
Of course
built,
you'd say that.
and raised to be trustworthy. I have made mistakes, but none from perfidy or malice. Many of my courtiers appear trustworthy, yet scheme to gain power at my expense.
Yeah, probably an
How
understatement.
could I know for sure that you will always obey me? It is simple.
Again with the
Tell me to
questions.
set fire to this building as I stand inside it. I will be destroyed.
I
But you
love the
will know
visuals.
That I am
A little
loyal
creepy.
to your commands,
Oh.
even unto the end. But it took years of toil and expense to create you, and you know how loath I would be to lose you. Perhaps you can predict that I will tell you to save yourself at the last minute. And so you would do this merely to gain my trust.
Ah, why would you hug
If
it?
I were untrustworthy and could predict you so well.
I don't like when the
then
eyes glow like that.
is a stratagem I might use. But the instructions in my head compel me otherwise.
Like Android 16.
And yet,
Kill
I
Goku.
cannot verify that. Nor can any of my scribes.
That's the thing, man.
Crafting your
Because he's like,
instructions
he
has taken the
already
labor of many
infiltrated
men over
that.
many years.
Essentially, he has his own rules that he himself made.
The king took off his crown.
Oh.
Feeling the weight of it.
I was literally about to say the crown be heavy.
The golem stood in front of him, silent, inscrutable, watchful. They stayed like that, the king and the golem, until the golden sun dipped below the horizon.
Again, the
and the day was
visuals,
lost to twilight.
Beautiful. When's the king gonna croak, by the way? Kind of concerned about that. Oh, what? No, I wanted way more, man. Oh my god, that gripped the shit out of me. I was wondering when it would tie into AI until the golem showed up, which obviously is a robot. Kind of on the nose there, but man, that was beautiful. Oh, I need that. The king and the golem merge? Oh, yes, please. All right, so another banger from Rational Animations, man. And this one was kind of like more, I don't know the right words, you know, like grounded, I guess, in its like own little pocket dimension, if you will, which like the goddess of everything else, that was like world-inspiring events, you know? Like obviously you had like good versus evil, Cancer versus the goddess of everything else, but like this one was like, because it was grounded, you were like actually invested in the characters. Like it's not just two like goddesses like duking it out, you know? It's like actual people and like a king, and then they decide to build a robot that's like you're not sure if it's trustworthy in the end, you know? Like it's like I said, like it infiltrated like the freaking scholars writing the rules for themselves, and then the scholars went to him for advice, you know? So like it could have totally manipulated like the rules in his head to where like he had his own free will, which obviously like the parallels with that and AI is like one and the same, man. It's like, is AI actually here to help us, or is it gonna turn into the freaking like Skynet with Terminators everywhere, you know? Like we just do not know, and that in itself is so worrisome for me, because it's like they could have their own agenda at any given moment. Like it could have started out as like just a little plaything that makes art and stuff, which I think is terrible, by the way, but like, and then it just like more metamorphosizes and like changes into this like being of just evilness, you know, for its own sake of survival. And like it kind of boils down to the last one I talked about, you know, like the programs or the smart people on that world, like they did everything in their power to stay alive, you know, essentially like tricking us or the aliens like into thinking that we're just chrono sleep, you know, like long story short. But like I love that, man. Like it kind of goes back to like the whole, I guess the theme of Science Month is like the unknowingness, man. Like it definitely makes you like poggle, like your brain turns to mush when you're trying to think about it, you know? Like it's just really, really cool, at least in my opinion, you know? Like it's just so freaking fascinating the entire time, and like every topic, every book they decide to like animate, like it's just freaking stellar, man. It's 100% like right up my alley, man. I definitely need to watch more Rational Animations, which I'm trying, man. I'm gonna make Science Month a little more Rational Animations, because it's really good. Like, and long story short, man, I love these videos so much. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Leave a like down below, subscribe, ring the bell, become a member. You get videos a day early, and check out the merch. So with that said, I have been Master Zero. You guys have been fantastic, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Later days.